You know, you don't really understand how valuable Trevor is until he's not here. And as we scramble to put on microphones and gather up my paperwork, I realize how important he is to my life. So Trevor, if you're watching this, wherever you are, I miss you. And if I could, I'd send a self-driving car down to get you and bring you back here. But we're not there yet, but we are hoping to make a major announcement a little bit later in the show. I'd like to introduce my guest, Fahad Shuja, coordinator for the OGRA member services, but you're going to have to help me out and explain what OGRA is for our viewers.
Sure, absolutely. So OGRA is quite a bit of an old organization. We've been around since 1894. And 1894, yeah, not 1994.
We're talking self-driving cars, and you've been around since the 1800s.
Oh, well, yeah. So what our the reason for us being was 1894 was about the time when municipalities were switching over, or people were switching over from your regular horses to cars, automobiles, right? So the road conditions at that time were designed for horses and bicycles. So it was a period of time where our forefathers for our organization felt that there was a need to tell people how to build better roads so that they can last long, and sustainability and all of that stuff. So they would go around. So they would we had a train called I think the OGRA train, and that would go around to different municipalities across the province. They would teach them how to build better roads and educate them, and they would go with all the right materials and the right people. Come back and go to another municipality and do it all over again. So in the past 122 plus or so years, we've it makes sense that we've created this personal, a very intimate bond with a lot of municipalities across the province. So that's where our history comes from. Now with the autonomous vehicles coming into play, we see a large trend, and it could be just as big or bigger than the time when we went from horses to cars. So we've been watching for about 10 years now, and it was just last year that we decided to say, okay, municipalities need a bit more guidance in this. It's not something that can be done. One municipality cannot solve it. And the good thing is that if you do work together with all municipalities, you can learn that much faster, and the issue here now is much larger than it has ever been before.
Well, let's back up a little bit. Well, I can't back up more than 1894,
yeah.
But more recent history.
Mm-hmm.
The advent of the automated car,
mm-hmm.
autonomous car,
mm-hmm.
It's not animated. As long as I don't get that A word mixed up with the other ones, I should be
self-driving.
Okay.
You can say self-driving. There you go.
Well, everybody knows it as like the Google car. We always think of it as
Sure.
the Google car, but this is not Google related. What we're doing, this is although they've kind of spearheaded
mm-hmm.
this activity in different parts of the U.S.
Mm-hmm.
But this isn't happening only in the U.S. Do you know where else automated vehicles or connected vehicles are taking place currently?
Yeah, so across the globe, this is the biggest thing in transportation at least in my lifetime. And like I said, since the horse, this is the biggest thing.
I never even
right?
put it into perspective of the difference when you talk about that
mm-hmm.
part of it. I was trying to think, well, it is quite a shift,
mm-hmm.
And I was trying to think of what to liken it to, but I never even thought about going back that far. But I think you're right. I think that is the last major change that driving has seen.
Absolutely, yeah. And because when we started doing roads, and now when I say we, not OGRA,
no.
but everybody else in general, like in North America, our cities are designed because of cars. They need it to be a certain width, and so you have to be certain offset from the sidewalk to have the buildings in and all that stuff. So with the way the future of cars will be, I think that will allow planners and transportation engineers and the city engineers to actually give life to some of the ideas they've had before, and how to bring cities together like never before. How to not create cities for cars, create it for people, because that's what cities should be about. So this is our chance to do that now.
Right. Now you sent, or I found you through a white paper that you wrote, the roadmap for autonomous vehicles in Ontario, and we shared that online. It's a good read. I encourage you to get out there and get part of it. And that sparked a few questions and conversations from people online. The first one is from Jeff Hayward. He's all for automated drivers as long as they haven't been drinking.
Yeah.
But a number of questions via email. One of them is the excitement about the possibility of being able to drive to work and then sending the car home to either park there or get to get his wife. What's your thoughts? Will it take longer to get unattended cars? Because we're talking about self-driving cars or automated cars, autonomous cars, where a driver is present, just not physically driving. There's a difference between those two elements.
Yeah, so there's something called Society of Automotive Engineers, SAE. I believe they're based out of United States. I'm not sure exactly what state, but they are an authority in automotive engineering. And what they've done is they've broken down the automation of the car into 6 categories, 6 levels. So it goes from level 0, which is no automation, so it could be a manual drive that we drive today. Could go all the way up to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The 0, 1, 2, the first 3 are the ones where human driver is there.
Okay.
3, 4, 5, that's where the others are, where system starts to take over. So, at level 5, your car is driving like Knight Rider. So wait, I guess to put it in perspective, I see a lot of ads for cars, right? Not necessarily on this network, but if we want any advertisers, Rogers could help out. That's right.
But you see things like these safety devices about pedestrian warnings and lane changings and pre-stopping with accidents that may happen a car ahead.
Right.
Are those elements of self-driving cars?
Absolutely. So the idea was when the smarter people sat around, they said,
whoa.
It will go. Beyond,
I mean, beyond us, not present company.
Of course, no. But what they decided was that what they thought was the cars will graduate in evolutionary process, right? So it'll go from 0 to 5, and somewhere in there, like maybe 2 or 3 would be what you're talking about. So you have lane assists, and you have smarter, keeping a safe travel distance and all that stuff. So that is part of automation, but that still requires that human is involved.
Right. The question that, are there manufacturers making these cars now? Obviously, Google has some of them. Is this is this competitive, or are they all working towards the same goal with that?
Goal is the same, where yes, they want to make a car that drives itself and doesn't need a driver, but are they working together? We're seeing some sort of alliances coming together, but not that much, because still at the end of the day, auto industry is a private industry, right? So they want to do what's best for their stakeholders and their shareholders. So what from what I see is that everyone is trying to do the best they can to do the right car, right? But that is the alliance really going global at this point? I don't see that yet.
No, and I guess, there's so many questions that have come in that talk about the practicalities of this, and I know that we do have a big announcement that we want to get to, which we'll do on the upkeep on this. We have about a minute. Liability insurance, is that something that would you see any major changes in that?
Yeah, so that is another thing that's being worked on. Some of the manufacturers that are very serious about providing self-driving cars, what they're saying is that they have enough confidence in the way the car will drive that they will take liability of the insurance. Not all of them. Some of them are. I won't name them.
Don't name names yet.
They might change their mind after. But right now, that's what it seems like. They want to have the driver not be involved in that. But right now, if you see a car, let's say a Tesla, that does have self-driving features, if you're in that car, my understanding is that you are still liable in case you cause an accident.
For now. Yeah. Well, for now, I'm going to be liable if I don't get out to brake on time. We're going to come back with more about autonomous vehicles and a major announcement that impacts all of Ontario. We look forward to talking to you more. I'm Jody Matheson for Wits and Pieces. We'll be back after this.
This month on Channel 100, get ready to watch and win with Rogers On Demand.
We're about to do something awesome.
Rogers On Demand wants to send you and a guest to Los Angeles, California for an exclusive Fox Hollywood VIP experience.
Let's show them some fireworks. They like to get the landmarks. Oh, boy.
I've never felt power like this before.
Order any movie from the Watch and Win folder on Channel 100 and be automatically entered to win today.
We'll get back here eventually. That's what we want. You know, if we had self-driving control room, this might. I didn't mean that, Patty. I'm sorry, and I love you. And I miss Trevor, and I know Dan, you're watching, and I hope that you're enjoying this because this is a show for you, and this is a topic that if those who've watched the show before will know, I've never had this many notes. And it's not just because Trevor's not here. There's so much to take in. When it comes to self-driving cars, so it is my pleasure to have you. Let me reintroduce you for our guests at home. Fahad Shuja.
Close enough.
I got all but the last letter.
That's right.
So if you watch the show, you'll see that's normal. From the OGRA, which stands for
Ontario Good Roads Association.
Hey, you passed.
Yeah.
Wrote an excellent white paper on autonomous vehicles, and we're happy to have you here with us and taking some time. And you, when I first approached you about the topic, it was simply just about, hey, you know, I read an article about a Google car getting in an accident, and I wondered if Ontario had any plans for this, and found your article, and reached out to you. But since reaching out to you, some major changes have happened in Ontario, and I'm happy to hear that you want to announce something brand new for our viewers and for all of Ontario. Do you care to share the great news?
Absolutely. So exciting times. And when you sent the request, everything was still going on in the background, but we couldn't talk about it in the open. So, as you may know, the province released a regulation back in January 2016 this year, and they allowed, it's a 10-year regulation that allows for testing of autonomous vehicles on our streets. But since then, MTO has been working, the ministry has been working with some stakeholders, and they're doing stuff on their own. But what we found was that municipalities are, in many cases, unaware of the regulation. And even if they are, they don't know where to start, because they know that, you know, there's a lot of uptake in the U.S. where there's testing going on, I think, in about eight states now. Same thing in Europe, but then Canada has been kind of lagging behind.
But by doing the space for it.
Absolutely, absolutely. But we, you know, glad to see that this year the minister allowed for the regulation to take place, and since then we are the first province in Canada to you know, to bring the self-driving, so at least open the door for them, right? So at OGRA, what we said was like we talked about, you know, the impacts of how the horses came to cars and all that changed, the society that changed because of that, the trends we see again for the self-driving vehicle. So it's in OGRA's DNA to say, you know, we got to help municipalities out some way, in some way, shape that we can. So what we're announcing right now, first time openly, is that we've created a new alliance, and it's called MACAVO, stands for Municipal Alliance for Connected and Autonomous Vehicles in Ontario.
You're doing that without the notes.
Oh yeah, I slipped on the last one. But essentially, the idea is that we're bringing forward hand-selected and very forward-looking municipalities in the province. We're supporting all the municipalities out there, but we're looking for the municipalities that are saying, okay, I see they're coming, and here's what I can do. Not just saying that, okay, I see they're coming, let's talk. Or talking is still happening, but what I see happening a lot out there is that there's a lot of conferences that are happening, but they're talking about autonomous vehicle 101 sort of things, right? We've gone 301 at this point. So we want to bring in the municipalities that actually want to have these sort of vehicles on their roads. So I think one of the questions you asked was, what if the car is empty?
Right.
It's driving itself. And that's exactly what Tesla has done. They have created the highest autonomous car. They've created the Knight Rider. And what that does, I don't know if you have had a chance to, but the viewers too, if you can search for on YouTube Tesla automated drive, I think in the last 4 weeks, what they did was they show a guy that summons the car, comes in, takes them, seems like his house, sits in the car, doesn't touch the wheel, goes to about maybe 15 minutes of drive or something like that, goes to the office, happens to be a Tesla. So gets out of the car, door closes, the car goes and parallel parks itself.
Okay, now stop.
So
self-closing doors too?
That, yeah.
Oh, come on.
That's what I'm saying, Night Rider. It's completely there.
I was happy with driving.
Yeah,
you know,
so, I mean, with that sort of a vehicle coming in, imagine that, you know, you're on 401 and you see a Tesla driving the next 3 months. How will that municipality or how will MTO react at that point? We're hoping to work with MTO on this as we go forward, but for the municipality, let's say that you're on a local road somewhere, what would that municipality do? Like, are you going to call the police and say, or a driver might call who's driving right next to it, say there's nobody in the car and it's going somewhere?
Well, I know that there's a number of municipalities, and I don't expect you to have memorized them. I do have the press release of which we're hoping to put a copy of on our Facebook page, so please check it out. It's the first place you're going to see it. Breaking news.
That's right.
Get in close and tight on that one, Matt.
That's
a breaking
news.
Oh, there we are. Breaking news. Rogers first, Wits and Pieces first, and Trevor, you're missing it. MACAVO took place with municipal transportation leaders. I'm going to read for you a report here. City of Barrie, City of Brampton, Region of Durham, City of Elliott Lake, Town of Essex, City of Hamilton, Town of Lakeshore, York Region, and others, and then more recently the City of Stratford came on board. I'm not reading Brantford yet, but you know, people at home, talk to your municipality. So what does that mean? So I said before that we were trying to think back to what might be likened into this, and a friend of mine, Kevin Archibald, wrote me, and he used the example of operatorless elevators. The fear that people had from getting in an elevator that didn't have somebody pushing the buttons or working the controls, and it's quite a big leap, no pun intended, to go from an elevator shaft to the streets.
Similar concepts.
But the concept is the same. What do you say to people who have a fear of this technology? What is the safety value so far, or the record?
Based on what Google Car and what the data they've released, even though you get the highlights of when the car hit somebody, right?
Yeah.
But of course it does much better than the regular driver. But that said, there is that fear, and it's completely justified because it's an unknown, right? It's that our fear of the Terminator, where, you know, it's taken over the world and you don't know how it's going to react. How do you anti that? So I'm thinking the white paper, what we talked about was one way that municipalities can help kind of get rid of that fear or reduce that fear slowly is to slowly integrate the vehicles into the society slowly. Don't just go out and throw it on 401 right away and let it burn and something happens. So our suggestion is that, you know, you identify the areas in your municipality where there's not too much traffic, but there is a little bit of traffic. So what you're saying at that point to the auto manufacturer is that, okay, sir, you have a vehicle, we know, we have our streets, and this is, you know, it's X amount of traffic that you get on here, come and test it out. So what that will do is slowly start to integrate into the society, as in, okay, that road is where you will see self-driving car, right? And slowly
so it could be pre-signed or something like that. Says
absolutely,
self-driving
cars. Yeah.
Like they do when they warn you that there's extra painting on the roads for testing.
Exactly.
So when you look at that and go, I don't know what those mean on the lanes.
Exactly.
Well, this is great, and personally, I think Canada is an excellent testing ground for this, because we have the space and the idea and the weather. That's a whole other issue. Yeah. But having the ability to use, you know, to connect our communities across Canada. I've done extreme road trips, done 30-hour drives straight to Saskatchewan, for example, and using a rotating driver system. But you know, the idea of being able to do that and just relax for the drive would
That's
be
right.
fantastic. I'm glad we've booked one more segment with you, and we're going to come back and talk more. Remember, you can be a part of the conversation on Facebook.com/WitsandPiecesTV or on Twitter @WitsandPiecesTV. For now, I'm your host, and I'll probably still be your host after the break, Jody Matheson. This is Wits and Pieces.
Hi, I'm Eric Chrisfriel. I'm the host of Our Brantford here on Rogers TV. The second Wednesday of every month at 7 o'clock, join me and find out about the most interesting things and people in Brantford.
For 4 years, Ion Music took you backstage to some of the region's hottest venues. And now we invite you to Music Tonight. It's in studio Monday nights, performances, interviews. We want you to be there right here on Rogers TV.
With NHL Center Ice, you get a premium ticket to the games you want every night of the season. With up to 37 out-of-market games a week to choose from, you'll get more goals, more saves, more non-stop action from the teams you love. NHL Center Ice, part of the Super Sports Pack. For only $35.95 a month, Rogers customers get all this. Order through your remote or call 1-888-ROGERS-1 today.
Welcome back to Wits and Pieces. I'm your host, Jody Matheson. I'm joined still by Fahad Shuja.
Got it.
There we go. It only took me 3 tries.
That's right.
Well, 6 really. I have to go at the beginning. And talking to us about automated vehicles, and that's fantastic. I think my mind is exploding, and we have a ton of questions that have been shared with us for you. So I'm going to hit them hard now. I'm going to just start throwing these at you. One of them is children in cars. The point of that question was really coming out of the idea of taxis versus, sending a child in a driverless car. But I think on a bigger picture, because what the taxi lends itself to me is this idea of those that make money from driving. And Kevin here shares the 1973 American trucker strike, where it turned violent. Those that continued driving, and that even things introducing Uber versus the taxi cab, and things like that are just breaking convention. And like you said, this could be a lifestyle changer, not just a game changer, not just a car changer, but a true lifestyle changing event. Are there any where's the direction that's being given for those types of industries?
Yeah, so that's a billion-dollar question there.
Good thing it's not our money.
Well, see, one of the workforce, right, and the workforce is part of it. So those drivers that are drivers, that's their day-to-day life. That's what it depends on. Absolutely, I think those are the areas that the leaders.
I guess we're not thinking per se. Right now, not everybody owns a car.
Right.
So we're not assuming that everybody in the future is going to have a driverless car. It'll be something that gets worked in over time. But there are certain industries where it would make sense to, we've automated production on so many things. It would make sense to automate something like a truck driving convoys that could be done without.
Did you see the Budweiser video? Is that what you're asking?
No, I didn't.
Oh, okay. I thought that was what we're leading into.
Oh.
So Budweiser, I think.
If you mention it one more time, they have to send us beer.
Are they? Okay.
No, I don't know about
so
that.
What they did was they approached Colorado DOT, the Department of Transportation, and what they said was they were going to do a run. I think it's a 2.5-hour ride for a delivery. It's a large truck. So the DOT, the person at Colorado said yes. and if you look at the video that shows on YouTube, it looks like a phenomenal run, and it is.
Because just the natural landscape is somewhere like that, lots of mountains. I've driven through the mountains in Colorado. They're not easy drives.
They're not, yeah. And this truck seemingly goes from A to B, does a really wonderful job, delivers a product, right? So that's the frontline story. But really, at the end of it, what was involved was about a 3-month planning stage between Colorado and also all other stakeholders. So one of the examples is they wanted to make sure that as the truck is driving by itself, there shouldn't be any vehicle on their side of the road. And that's how difficult, even little things like that, right? So, and then also getting in touch with the police local, so that they make sure that they don't stop the truck. So all this stuff, there's a lot that had to happen. We're at a stage where on a lot of videos you'll see things these seem to be happening very quickly, and they are, but it does require a lot of coordination, right? This is where MACAVO is kind of trying to help.
Something so simple as just sending a test drive means, and doing a test drive to the corner store isn't testing it enough. It's got to be of some significance, and that's there. We mentioned there that as municipalities sort of roll out a program, a testing program, they might do it on less busy streets and things like that. Do you see that as the future of maybe a highway rollout? Would there be certain roads that might use it before others? I'm thinking the ETR 407 versus the 401.
In Ontario, I'm not sure whether there's an official strategy to go that way yet, but I know elsewhere, there are pieces of highway that they're trying to allot maybe a lane or so just for that, but it's in the early phases. For us, we're looking at for municipal side only, we're looking at internal roads right now.
And is that? And I liken it to, I guess, a little bit the electric car. When electric car first came out, short driving distances, had to keep coming back. A whole other question: how does a car refuel when it drives itself? But I guess that's a manufacturer problem, not a a planning problem.
It's a fuel way, whether you do it electric or whether you do it by gasoline. Either way, it's self-driving would be like a parallel component of it. I don't think it would impact whether you're doing electric or gas or like natural gas if you wanted to.
Right. I guess that leads itself. We've got a question that's come on here from Marty Edwards, a former guest on the show and an owner of a DeLorean, which I don't think they're self-driving, although they do time travel. What happens, he asks, with a power failure or something like the street lights are out, or if I guess with a parade it would recognize that there's something there. But he mentions police manually directing traffic. If it's an empty vehicle, how is there technologies built into these that already exists?
Right. So these things are being learned, and if you look at it from a technology perspective, if a human being can do it repeatedly and without too much thought, computer can do it. So that's not the problem, but I think the issue is just that coordination, right? That everybody has to be talking the same language. And it goes back to our discussion about the truck where, and this is where the municipalities have to come together and say, okay, we don't want to have a separate standard in Brantford and then have a separate one in Stratford and in other places, City of Toronto. They should all be seamless, right? So if a car is going from point A to point B, it should know that it's fine. So it shouldn't be that, okay, from City of Toronto you can drive without a driver, police won't stop you. As soon as you cross the road to Mississauga, you're stopped. That doesn't work. So at OGRA, what we can try to do is educate municipalities and say, look at these things and look at those kind of scenarios that you just mentioned and see how would that impact in case let's say a driver has sent a car to do nasty stuff. Is there a way, or should we stop the car? So all of those are very good questions, and those are things that we will have to deal with as we go forward.
Well, and a lot of the questions, and I don't want to get bogged down on the technology questions, because a lot of them come down to manufacturer issues and not necessarily the planning issues of which your group is helping with. We only have about 2.5 minutes left. What's the future driving look like to you? When you look, let's say, 15 years, 20 years down the road, and that's not soon enough for my kids are going to start driving, but what do the roads look like to you?
Wow. Things change. I think there's a lot of the first foremost is the international incidents, right? We're assuming that everything is going to stay the way it is, right? That if we're all happy, loving creatures in the next 15 years and the way things are progressing right now, I think that it will reshape the entire road network like crazy. You know, for instance, you look at the houses, the prices of houses these days. If you're driving now 45, let's say if you just want to increase your driving distance to about an hour and a half instead of hour, right? Right. You could get a really nice house outside, you know, in a place where you would never have gone before. And then not only that, but when you're driving to work and from work, you can do work.
Well, if you're you can do the work, and the idea that the time spent in the vehicle is not going to work out so well, and it's certainly something that I would be mindful of. You know, my 22-minute drive door to door is 45 minutes with traffic, and that's it. Mm-hmm. And just like the drive takes longer than I expected, we take longer than we should. And so I want to say thank you very much,
thank you for
coming on and making your special announcement, a big announcement for us. It's a pleasure to have you on and to learn more about this. You're welcome back when new news comes out.
Absolutely, you'll be the first.
I want to take a moment too to thank Haley and Eli for coming in and sharing their big news about signing with their U.S. Universities, and also for Ray Knight. Remember, Saturday, December 10th, to get out there and do the toy drive as well. You can get more information for all that on our Facebook page, Wits and Pieces TV. For Trevor Charuka, I am Jody Matheson, and this has been Wits and Pieces.
Call the Rogers TV viewer response line, email us, or connect with us on social media.